One thing I do love about this, we've got a cast iron bath here. Underneath the bath, he's installed a radiator to nicely warm up that bath before you get in it. I think that's genius. What's up guys, happy Sunday and thanks for tuning in to another Life of a Jobbing Plumber video. So I just wanted to start by saying, you obviously can see the sun's out. I'm feeling so much better. I was feeling proper down. I mentioned this in my first video. I don't know why, but there was something, I weren't right, wasn't enjoying going to work, no motivation. But now the weather's picked up a bit, the sun's shining. I feel like I've got my mojo back. I'm actually singing while I'm working, whistling again, which is nice. I feel like I've been so busy that I've not had a chance to clean my van out or do anything and I've got smart van racking. If you put one thing out of place, the whole van's a bomb site. So it's just been added stress and I've had a chance to just clean it out. And you just find that when your van's clean and tidy, your head's clean and tidy. It's like when you've done all your paperwork, you've got all that done and out of the way. It's like a massive weight off your shoulders. So I just feel I'm just feeling a lot more positive. So that's good. Wanted to ask you one question. So these videos, Sunday night, about half an hour long, is that the ideal what you'd want? Or I'm thinking maybe doing 2 videos a week, so Wednesday and a Sunday, but making them slightly less long, so 20-ish minutes long rather than 1 30-minute. What do you think to that? If you can let me know in the comments, that would help. And yeah, enjoy the video. Right, trying this again because it seemed to go down well last week. So this is a call out to a boiler not working. The house has been sold. I had another guy look at it who apparently is an ex-plumber, but he didn't know what the problem was. So the funny thing about this job, I've been to this one a long time ago. Where's the lights? The light switch don't work. Okay, that's a good start. The boiler's behind you on the stairs. So see what it's doing. Right, see what it does. Right, can you hear that gurgling? Straight away I know what that is, just from that gurgling. Condense pipe there. Right, let's come get a bucket and a wet vac. So, block condense trap, which is that, the bottom of it's there. Now, I'm not going to be able to do this with one hand and film it, so I'm going to put you guys down here and hopefully it records it. Right, can I see that? I can see that there, I think. Right, I hope you can see, and I hope there's not more than a little plum tub's worth. Right, here we go. So, it's not too much, probably, I'll show you that. Not too much in there, a lot of sediment. What I'm going to do is, there's a black rubber hose there, take that off, check that's not blocked, and I'm going to suck it all through with my wet vac, boiler side and pipework side, and then we'll see if that clears it all. So, pop that. That's the hose off. So the trap is blocked at the boiler. I don't know if you saw the water come out there. So what I'm going to do is try and suck that out with the wet vac. So I've just sucked, a lot came through, so hopefully now when I take the trap out, yeah, nothing out of the boiler. So, I'll show you guys, it was blocked up here. So if I angle the camera up, see if you can see it. So there was a plug in there, and when I took the trap off, it started pissing out, even though the trap was open at the bottom, because you saw me take the bottom off that. Even though it was open, the blockage was up here. So washed the trap out, sucked through there, nothing came out of that, so I'm satisfied that the blockage was just at the boiler there. So now we'll run it and see what the difference in sound is. Right, here we go, cover on. Now you can tell the difference. Right, the eagle eye guys following me will know that's too high, and you might say, oh, it could be the expansion vessel's failed, needs draining and recharging, but there's a very simple reason why that pressure's too high, and that's because when this boiler went out of order, the first thing any landlord, customer, tenant will do is top the pressure up, because they, for some reason, same with old boilers, they used to think any fault with it was the pilot light has gone out. Modern boilers, anything wrong with the boiler, straight away needs some pressure in it, and they put pressure in it. That's why that's up high. The landlady's already told me that they put pressure in it. So I'll just drain a bit out of one of the radiators. I've not shown you this before because it's something I got middle of the summer during lockdown. You will remember I used to use the Wix wet vac, which was the 240 version with the lead on it. I just find this one so much nicer to keep on the van because of its shape. And once you're done with the hose, which comes out the end, it just folds away. It's just lovely. I've got a 12 amp hour battery in there, so it hardly ever runs out of charge. I'm not sure what the battery performance is on the smaller batteries, like a 4 amp. I don't know how long it would last, but I just treated myself and put the 12 amp in there. It's got attachments on it, so I just love it. This is the old model, there's a new one out, but I just prefer this because I don't use their pack out stuff. There's another attachment there. That's handy when you flood kitchens. Yeah, it only holds 10 litres though, so my Wix one I think was 20 litres, so double the capacity, but it's easy to empty. You just undo those and then the top lifts off, and you can use it as a wet or a dry. You just have a filter that you put in, which I just keep on the van if you're going to use it as a dry vacuum. But to be honest with you, I've not used it as a dry vac yet. I've only ever used it as a wet vac. So yeah, I absolutely love it. That's the model number if you're interested. Get it from Power Tool Mate online. This next video you're going to see, it's quite long-winded, but it was quite a big job, and it's the first time I've ever done a job like this. Just to give you a bit of background, the lady is a nurse, and it was in the middle of the pandemic, just before Christmas, and I'm talking the week before Christmas, and her boiler went down. Parts were obsolete, so we had to do something to get her back up and running with minimal disruption to the house. It was a really complicated system in that the guy had fitted it himself. He'd done drawings, but there was kind of zone valves, and the underfloor heating was just a load of HEP all looped round. It's just a bit weird, something that I've not seen before. Luckily, he'd left a drawing. He'd drawn everything he'd done out, and also the wiring he'd done. There was all kinds of stuff going on there, but he'd left a diagram. And when I say it was hard to tell what was going on, there was things like there was heating in the loft, there was pipes there for radiators, but it wasn't connected. It was on the schematics, on the drawing, but it wasn't connected. None of the rads were filled up, but everything was up there. So it was just a bit of a mishmash of things going on. So the challenge was for me to try and get a new working boiler in to get heat and hot water back into that house with the minimal disruption to that system. So this is what we did. Right, this job was a really challenging job, but it was also an interesting job because I learned a lot. But unfortunately, I didn't film it for YouTube, only Instagram. So I've just come back today to try and talk through it, what I did, explain the plate and why I went for that kind of system. I'll mix it in with some of the footage I took for Instagram and hopefully give you an idea of what went on. So I did this job with Marcus, came out and the lady's got the plans. So the long story short, her husband installed the system all by himself and he drew out plans for everything he did. I'll show you that now. So the guy did all this himself, controls, electrics, pipe work, and drew diagrams of everything he'd done. So the challenge was fitting a new modern boiler onto that old system and getting it to work. And the reason I was worried about that is because on an old floor standing boiler like we had here, it's basically just a heat exchanger, a gas valve, and that's it. A burner, gas valve, heat exchanger, and the water gets pumped through that heat exchanger and picks up the heat. On a modern boiler like this Vaillant, you've got flow and return thermistors and they're constantly monitoring the temperature of the water going out of the boiler and the water coming in. And if the differentials are wrong, the boiler will go to fault. So the worry was that we don't know what's going on with that old system. There's valves everywhere, there's pipe work everywhere. Would a new boiler run that system? Marcus had the idea about fitting a plate system because on a plate, and this will look similar to what you get inside a combi boiler, we can hydraulically separate the boiler water from the system water. So the water that's in here doesn't mix the system and the boiler, but it does pick up the heat. So we've got now a brand new Vaillant system boiler, pressurized, so that's running at 1 bar through this side of the plate. It's happily just circulating. This has been on since December. It's February now. It just ticks over in low flame at 57 degrees. So this boiler is heating this plate up, but only through this side. And our system is this side, exactly as it was before we started the job. It's just getting pumped through this plate instead of getting pumped through the old floor standing boiler. And we thought that would be more sympathetic to the system, the old pipe work, and give us the best chance of getting it to work. So this is what the next couple of days looks like. This boiler's coming out. If you remember the system, it's this one. So we've got all kinds of different zones here. Underfloor heating, upstairs, attic, 2 different hot water cylinders. This is the wiring diagram. So that's the downstairs hot water, and then we've got the zone valves for the underfloor and the downstairs, and then the upstairs heating. There's another zone valve for the heating and another one for hot water upstairs. This is the controls, got the original Danfoss weather comp on it. So this is all, I mean, look at these cables. I've got to try and get a couple of, I don't know, 2 nests onto this or something. I don't know what I'm going to do yet. So that's all got to be changed. And then what we're going to do, system boiler here, and we're going to run it through a plate, and then the original system is going to stay open vent on the other side of the plate. So it should be a nice, interesting job. Look at this, it's like an electrician's wet dream. Found the wiring sensor. Most of the cables are labelled. They've got codes on, which the codes are on here, so hopefully you can work out what's what, but all these wires. Right, so basically what I've done is I've disconnected a lot of it, tried to work out what cable does what. A lot of it's labelled, which is good. So with my tester, I'm testing basically what cables are live, what I think goes to where. Obviously the pump cable and the zone valves are easy to identify. So yeah, just a bit of testing. Marcus, what are you testing?
I'm going to test the kettle.
Right, this is the upstairs hot water cylinder. I've got to try and work out what's going on here. So I know what this cable is. This is the live coming up, which goes into this switch, which is for the immersion. But at the back of that, into this wiring centre, is the permanent live neutral earth. And then this zone valve, the orange and the brown are permanently live. And on this zone valve, the orange and the grey are together. And the brown goes in with that cable, which I can find downstairs, and that cable, tank 2 control, I can find downstairs. But I don't know what's going on with this zone valve because it's on the return from the hot water cylinder, but after where it returns down to the boiler. So I don't know why that's there. And then that's the second, I said there was a second heating zone valve. That's that. So this is the heat exchanger. Just going to try and basically explain how it works. It looks like a plate you'd get in any combi boiler, but we're going to run the system on it. So we're going to fit a nice new boiler, and that's going to be a system boiler that's pressurised. Flow in, return out, and all that boiler will do is circulate in a loop, pressurised. When it gets the switch live, it'll fire up and just do that. And this plate will get hot. The system is going to be kept open vent. This pump here is going to be kept in, but we've cut the boiler out, and that flow and return are just going to attach on here. So when we call for demand, the pump will come on and it will pump all the water, from, whether it's from the radiators, the hot water or the underfloor, will just get pumped through this side of the plate and pick up the heat from the nice new boiler. So pressurised system, open vent, and the reason we're doing that is because we don't know where half of this stuff is, and we don't want to pressurise it in case, you know, it starts leaking under the pressure. So this is just to get the system running with a nice new boiler. Just a quick update on this job. So we've got the plate in, and you can see this side we've got the open end there, and this one I'm just working on at the minute, which is going to connect onto the old system, which is these two pipes that came into the old boiler. But the other side of the plate is already piped up to our boiler, and it's already under pressure. So that's just proving to you the hydraulic separation. The boiler water is separate from the system water, because if it wasn't, obviously this would be pissing out right now. So one thing I do love about this, we've got a cast iron bath here. Like I said to you before, the guy installed the plumbing system himself underneath the bath. He's installed a radiator to nicely warm up that bath before you get in it. I think that's genius. If you don't believe me, I'll prove it to you. (26°) bottom of that bath. I'll have a look at the radiator as well. Oh, camera don't like that. There you go. 40 degrees on that radiator under the bath. Do you know what? I think I'm going to do this on my bath at home, because I've got a roll top bath. It's quite cold when you get in. Let me know what you think to that in the comments. Just quickly run down what the pipe work is for you. So the back two, we've got the flow from the boiler and the return to the boiler, just circulating through that back side of the plate. And then on the front, we've got the flow to the system, and that's got a Spirotech RV2 air separator on it. And at the bottom, we've got the return from the system, MB3 magnetic filter, and then a line strainer just to protect that plate, because you know, inside a plate, the waterways are very, very thin and they block easily. And you'll notice we've got them opposite ends. So the flow goes in at the bottom, return out the top, and then opposite on the system side, the flow coming out the top. And that way it can pick up the maximum amount of heat. Obviously the middle part there is the gas, PRV and condense. Filling loop at the side there. That's about it. So we've still got everything as it was. Original pump, zone valves, that's an air separator, but everything's the same, so I've not touched anything, but it's got a new boiler, and then I adapted it, and this was a pain in the arse. Took all of those programmers, all of that weather comp stuff out, connected it all in this wiring centre to run off two nests. So we've got one nest thermostat does the underfloor heating and this downstairs hot water, and the other nest thermostat does the 2-port that does the radiators and the upstairs hot water cylinder. And one of the best things for the customer is we've done all this work to get the system going, and really once the cupboard door's shut, you'd never know we've been here.
Hi folks, I'm Ryan Mills from GD Mills Plumbing and Heating, based up in Edinburgh. Pete's been kind enough to ask me to share my top tip here. So for me, working in Edinburgh, there's a lot of parking restrictions. Can't get parked as close as you would like for the job. Unfortunately, a lot of them are top floor flats. So what I carry in my side pocket of my trousers is this wee Festool mini sustainer. Now inside it, I've just got a range of different washers, split pins, Jubilee clips, fuses, all the wee bits and bobs, because the last thing you want to do is get to a top floor flat and the leak you've been called out to is just a fibre washer to the toilet or a dripping tap. We've also had those ones where we're in doing a boiler service and they say, oh, while you're here, my toilet's slow in filling, or I've got a dripping tap, or you get the script. So that's why I keep this in my pocket. Just saves me running back and forth willy-nilly. Keeps the parking meter charge down, and time is money at the end of the day. So that's mine. Thanks for listening. Cheers.
Gotta say, I absolutely loved that tip from Ryan. The best tips are ones that you just think, why do I not do that? That's a great idea. So I've got one of these Festool tubs that I used to keep business cards in, but now I've copied Ryan's idea, and in fact I think what I've got in here is probably better than what he's got in his. I have broke it though, which is a shame. I have to get a new one. So I'll just show you some of the stuff I've put in the box. So I've got tap reviver, red plugs. You never know when you want to just screw something in with a plug. Lucky penny to bring me some luck. Washer. I've got a spare radiator key. I've got one of these old style because sometimes the new ones don't fit everything. I've got an air pep or an air pip for an old radiator in case you drop it. Glass fuse, fibre washers, brown plug. What else have I got in there? Cap for a Schrader valve, just a blank for a filling loop, washing machine washer, shower hose washer, 3-amp fuses, little screws. I've even got a couple of cable ties, and then the most important, a Wago with a link wire in it, so I can test things. How often do you need a link wire? So yeah, I think we should all get our own little tubs and see who's got the best loadout. So this part of the video, I wanted to talk to you about boiler servicing, because we all have our favourite boilers that we like to service and ones that we don't like to service. The same as we like boilers that we install. And for me, it's Baxi and Vaillant. I know my way around both those boilers. If I walk into a job and there's a Baxi or a Vaillant in there, I'm happy. I'm in my comfort zone. But there's certain boilers that either you won't see very often because they're not popular in your area, or you're new and you're seeing them for the first time. And the first time I saw a Worcester Green Star and had to service it, I was like, what the hell do I do? Totally out of my comfort zone. Now, I've been on the training with Worcester. Once you've gone and they've shown you how to do it, it becomes a lot easier. And also, if you are servicing a Worcester and you've not been on the course, it's listed in the book. But saying that, seeing something written down is not as helpful as seeing someone do it or be shown how to do it. So I thought I'd show you the video, which I put on my Instagram a while back, where I serviced a Worcester Green Star. Obviously, it was sped up to 60 seconds. So I've tried to slow it down a bit just to show you that it is quite simple. But then it kind of evolved, because on that job, I use a bottle of Coke. And then I remembered that I descaled a plate heat exchanger with a can of Coke on another job. So I've kind of joined them together. And then afterwards, because they are 60-second shorts, there's quite a lot of info to take in. So I've sat down with a pen and paper and I've just tried to expand on it, the sort of science behind it. But I say science according to the way I understand it, the way I see it in my head, and hopefully explain it to you in a way that you understand if you're new to this kind of thing. So I hope you enjoy that. And like I say in the video, if it is something you find useful and you want to see me do more of that, drop me a comment and let me know. So I've slowed down one of my old 60-second fault finding videos to show you just how easy it is. one nut on the top, the fan twists out and lifts off, and then it's just a case of removing all your cables, the plate, then the rubber gasket and electrodes come out the top. The hardest bit on this is getting the baffles out. Now there's a tip for this: if you pour a bottle of Coke down and then have a cup of tea, chat to your customer, leave it for 5-10 minutes to work, and then it should help ease any stuck baffles out, because they can get jammed in there, especially this spring at the bottom. Once you've got them out, give them a good clean, and then you get a brush with the service kit that comes in from the top. I don't know if you saw, I took a plate out the top of the boiler, and then flush it through with plenty of water. That'll all gather in the bottom. Take that off, plate off, give it a clean out there, a bit more water through, then you just put it all back together. Reverse, same way as you did before. New gasket, new electrodes on this one. You'll always swap the gasket when you break a heat exchanger seal, well, nearly always. And then plug your leads back on. Fan twists in the same way it came out. That one nut just to tighten it all down, and that's it. A lot easier than you think it's going to be just by looking at it. And then because we've washed a load of crap down through the condense trap, it's really important that we take that off and clean it. If you didn't know how a condense trap works, the right hand chamber where my thumb is, that's normally full of water. When you commission the appliance, it gets filled up, and that creates a seal to stop the products of combustion coming through it. So I'm just going to replicate it with the tap. So the right hand chamber's full, and then as the boiler's condensing, you see it spills over into the left hand chamber, and once it gets to the top, it siphons itself out. So all in one go, that whole left chamber empties until it gets to the bottom. The right hand chamber, you'll notice, stays full the whole time. Just do it again for you. So it spills over the side. Once it gets to the top, it siphons out. Exactly the same way a toilet siphon works, basically. So the bigger the condensate trap, the bigger reservoir of water there, the more that goes out, the less likely it is to freeze. So you find in modern boilers they're making them bigger, and also the smaller ones tend to block a lot easier. Once it's clean, the condense trap goes back in. You'll notice I put that back in full of water. It's really important that you do that. And then all my commissioning checks, high, low, adjust the gas valve, and you do that according to the instruction manual. All the info you need is in the book. What's up guys, 60-second fault finding with a Mythbusters twist. Can you use a can of Coke to clean up a plate heat exchanger? Now if you don't know the basic heat principles of a combi boiler, the hot water outlet should be within 5 degrees of the return temperature on the primary side of the plate. That shows you're getting correct heat transference through the plate. In this case we've got a massive 30-degree difference, which indicates there's a blocked plate heat exchanger. Now I've not got any descaler on the van, I've not got time to fetch a new plate, so a quick walk to the corner shops, and 79p later I've got myself a can of Coke, and all I'm going to do is pour this in the block side of the plate and leave it for 20 minutes, half an hour to do its thing. Now with the plate back in the boiler, you can see there we're getting a 3-degree difference, which is a massive improvement on what we had. To check the performance of the boiler using a weir gauge, we can see we're getting 12 litres per minute, and checking the differential temperature between the cold inlet and the hot outlet, you can see we're achieving a 35-degree rise, which on this 30 kilowatt combi is ideal. Alright guys, so that video was quite fast, quite a lot of info to take in. So what I thought I would do is try and explain the basic heat principles of a plate heat exchanger in a combi, and this is with regards to fault finding, so when it goes wrong kind of thing, so to help you identify it's a plate issue. Now this is how it works in my head, how it works according to me. There's guys out there a lot cleverer than me that can explain this in a lot more detail, but I'm going to try and keep it simple because that's the way I like it. So this is our boiler, our heat exchanger. Flow into the top half of the plate, the primary side of the plate, return back to the boiler. So pump there, and the water's just flowing in a loop round the plate. So we're coming out the flow at say 75, and we're coming out 55. So we've got a differential. So the difference between the flow and the return is 20 degrees, which is what it should be on any condensing boiler. So we know in this scenario, 75 out, 55 in, 20 difference, that there's no problems there. That's working absolutely fine. Now, the way the plate heat exchanger works is with 75-degree water running through it, this piece of metal here is going to get hot. So when your cold water comes through it, it passes through and picks up the heat. And if everything's working fine, this side and this side, you should get 5-degree difference between your return out and your hot out. Don't ask me why, but that's what you should get if everything's working good. So things that will, well, that's everything good scenario, 5-degree difference. Now, the next picture we're going to do is when we get an issue. So let's move that. So we go again, 75, 55, that's a 20 difference, but we're only getting, let's say, 40 here. So we've got a 15-degree difference. Now I've just told you 5-degree difference is optimal. So 40-degree difference, we've got a problem with the hot water outlet. It's not hot enough. Now what can it be? The simplest way to look at it is, nothing's changed up here. We've still got 75 in, 55 out, 20 difference. So that tells me straight away the top half of the plate, the primary side of the plate, is fine. There's no issue there. The issue has got to be with how it's picking up the heat this side, because that's where the problem is. Everything's good there, something's got to be bad here. Now this could be scaling this secondary side of the plate heat exchanger. So it's scaled up so the water isn't picking up the heat from the metal because the scale's stopping it, or our flow rate is too fast. And this is quite involved because boilers can only do they can only give a certain amount of heat to the water depending on the flow rates and stuff. But in basic terms, the water is coming in too fast, so it's not in there long enough to pick up the heat. So we've either got too much flow or we've got a blocked secondary side of the plate. With me so far? Hope you are. Right, next one. So now we're going to look at this side, 85, and let's call that 50. So we've got now 35-degree difference between here and here. Now I told you at the start that needs to be 20. So now we're looking at an issue primary side. And this could be one of three things, but the most common thing this is going to be is a blockage in your primary side of the plate. It could also be a blockage in your main heat exchanger. It could also be your pump's not moving the water around fast enough. Most likely to be that. The way you test this, by the way, is you put your temperature probes either on your analyzer, or if you've got some different kind of probes, on the flow and the return out to get these two temperatures. So not very common, blocked main heat exchanger. Not that common, pump, very common, blocked plate. And the way you can prove it's definitely the plate is if you put it around the central heating system. If it works absolutely fine for the central heating system and you get in a 20 degree between flow and return when it's going through heating, you've proved your heat exchanger is good and your pump's good. Because if it was one of these two things, it would do the same thing, maybe not as bad, but it would do the same thing for your central heating. So when I said you can prove it's the plate by running the heating, which if it works fine on the heating, pump's good, heat exchanger's good. On certain boilers, they have to protect the plate, a filter somewhere in line. Could be that. That would be just as common as it being the plate blocked, because that's supposed to protect the plate. So you check that. Some boilers, not mentioning any names, the hoses inside the boiler are rubber. They get blocked very easy. So if you've got restriction in flow in your primary flow and return hoses, it could also be that. So there's different things to look at. But as a general rule, I found running the heating, if it all works fine, then you're looking at a plate issue. And it is very common in the UK to have a blocked primary side of your plate. So symptoms of this, because if we have got a 35-degree differential, then the boiler is probably going to be getting too hot. So when the boiler gets too hot, it's going to do one of two things. It's either going to go to a fault, so it's going to shut down on its overheat stat. And the symptom of that out the tap would be the water gets hot, then it goes stone cold, and I have to go and reset the boiler. Or the boiler will fire up, get too hot, and decide to go to low flame. While it's in low flame, your hot water is going to cool down, and then it cools down, fires back up to full flame again, gets too hot, low flame. So your customer will experience hot, then cold water coming out the tap. That's another symptom of a blocked primary side of your plate. Hopefully that's made sense. If you liked that, if you want me to do more stuff like this, let me know in the comments, because we can do stuff like that and maybe look at making some specific videos just on stuff like this.
Hi PB, hi YouTubers. I'm going to tell you about a story of how I up. So it's about 20 years ago, as an apprentice trainee. I used to work for a firm that used to do flat bashing, which is where you go in and out flats every day, turning out heating systems, all surface pipe work, and hard graft. So one particular day, I was drilling through from one room to another, and I'm drilling. I thought, God, this wall is big. It's massive, this wall. Anyway, all of a sudden the drill's gone through and it wouldn't come back out. I'm drilling, I'm pushing, I'm drilling, snagging. It's not coming. All of a sudden, this Turkish woman comes running into our flat we're working in, and she is shouting, hollering. I know what she was saying, but I'm guessing it weren't pleasant. Anyway, we followed her around to her flat, and yeah, you know, I've drilled into one of her bedrooms, but the drill has gone in between two heating pipes and drilled into a mattress which was on the floor, and her son was sleeping on it at the time, and it's churned up all his duvet cover and started trying to eat him. So he wasn't hurt, but I'm guessing he never ever forgot it, the same as I haven't either. So that's my up story. Have a good week, people.
So we've got to step over to get over the gas, and then it kicks over 90mm to get us to the far left, and it kicks out again 1.25 inches. So that is going to go right. So it's going to step over the gas there to get us to there, and then it kicks across and then up onto there with a socket like that. That's the first one done.